Hello and welcome to our career drama series. My name is Sai Joshi and I welcome you all again today on this beautiful Sunday today, and this is another opportunity for all of us to meet another amazing personality, and he is a very old friend of mine joining us today, Ritvik Gajendra Gadkar, and as you have seen, he is research scholar in German language. So far he is the only person I know who is doing his doctorate in a German language, in a foreign language, and I am extremely privileged, extremely honored to have him here today because he is an amazing personality. So Ritvik, I know Ritvik since a very long time because the interesting thing is we learned Spanish together. So he is also a student of Spanish language. He's a master in German literature, and there are many more features to his personality here. And he is a brilliant classical singer as well. So such amazing personality is just going to join us to share his experience in his field, and I'm sure this is very fascinating to know that some person who is very next to our community and is doing such a offbeat career. He has been in German language since his 11th grade, I guess, and again he is from Ferguson College. He is a student of Ferguson, and he has done his masters from JNU, and then he's studying in Germany. So that is all he will be talking about, so I don't want to talk much about his career. Let him do the honors, and Ritvik will be here with us in no time. So another very interesting thing that I would like to talk about Ritvik is he has been doing this multiple language translations, and he used to translate poetries from Hindi, Marathi, English, Spanish and German into different multiple languages, and he used to not only translate them but also sing them. So as I said, he's a brilliant classical singer as well, so he used to do such programs, and Ritvik is here with us, so I can't wait to get him on call. Hola Ritvik, let me just... Hola, hi, how are you?
Hello, I'm good.
How
How
are
are you?
you? Great, Ritvik. Thank you so much, Ritvik, for joining us
My
from
pleasure.
your busy schedule from all the way from Germany. Thank you so much for joining us, and it is so amazing to see. Already the brochure said, the poster said की doctorate in German language. हेच इतकं fascinating आहे की I think I know only one person doing such things. So this is definitely an offbeat profession. So please tell us, how did your journey begin into this field?
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity. And at the same time, I would say I'm speaking not only for myself, but also on behalf of all my dear friends and colleagues who are pursuing different languages, not just German, English, French, Spanish, Japanese, and are either studying or working very closely with languages. My journey started when I was about to complete my schooling period. I was in the ninth class when my mother encouraged me to join a private German class where I learned the very basics of the language, the very basic grammar and vocabulary. And when the 3 or 6 months period got over, I really wanted to go beyond those basics. And that's how, at the same time, I also knew what I did not want to do. I would have been a very bad engineer, doctor, CA, whatever. So my decision to join arts was not a very difficult one, although uh, there were quite a few voices against my decision, but my parents
Of
supported. So
course.
I was in arts, and my focus was German. But at the same time, I started learning Spanish at the Department of Foreign Languages in Pune University, and the introduction to European history, the art history and the history of literature happened in Spanish and through Spanish. But as you know, when our advanced diploma was over, I was completing my first year of bachelor's and I did not have any degree to pursue direct a master's degree in Spanish, which was introduced in the same year.
Yes.
So, and there was no possibility of pursuing a bachelor's degree in Spanish at the Pune University. So
Yes.
since I was parallelly learning German, I switched to German. And along with doing the specialization in German at the University of Pune, Ferguson College, I also learned German at the Goethe Institute, Maximilian Bhavan, Pune, where I did all the language courses in succession. And I think I would take this opportunity to clarify certain things which or certain misunderstandings which people do have unknowingly in their minds, where people say C1 is equivalent to a bachelor's in German or French, and C2 is equivalent to master's in French, which is not the case. At Goethe Institute, at Maximilian Bhavan, language is looked at as an instrument or a catalyst, as a means to an end. So the focus is the practical application, usage of the language in different situations, starting with forming sentences, simple sentences, to building opinions, and then at an advanced level, expressing complex ideas in complex fashions.
Right.
Whereas at the university, it is not just about language as a tool or as an instrument, but language as a medium through which something can be expressed, something can be said. And the questions asked at the university level, at a degree program, are exactly what can be expressed through a language, what cannot be expressed through a language. So the limitations of language, and there comes the role of literature, why literature and the literary language is different than the German or the language used in everyday life. So this was something which fascinated me, and the farther I believed to go, the deeper things became. So I could never really stop at any point, and here I am today pursuing my PhD studies in Munich, in Germany.
That's fantastic. So Ritvik, I have seen so many people who want to learn any foreign language start with the question किती level असतात आणि then they get the answer की 6 level असतात. So 6 level झाले की आली का भाषा, आणि I see you as an example who has gone beyond those 6 levels and you are doing something in the language. So please tell us what exactly is the nature of your work, and where is the what is the most fascinating part, like what pulled you to that level of research and philosophy?
Well, the this is same like asking someone who is studying music. It's same. The question is as irrelevant there when someone asks if you are Sangeet Alankar, does music stop? Have you learned it all?
Yes, yes.
And you have artists, great artists, who have never ever given any exam, telling you at the end of their life that this is not all. I've reached nowhere. I could not achieve anything what I was looking for my entire life. So no, this is not the right question to ask at all. It makes no sense to ask this question because, and in my case, I think I can claim to say that this is not a relevant question, but for someone who wants to have a certificate of German language in order to pursue another program in Germany, might look at language as something, as I said, means to an end. So the certificate matters. For those who think that the certificate matters for them, yes, those 6 levels, those 7 levels are sufficient. But when you realize that you are being introduced to a new world, something which you never thought of, because of your engagement with the language, you do not want to stop, firstly. And you know that whatever you do, how much ever you try to study, to read up, it's not going to be enough because, as I said, when you look at language as a medium and when you start reading literature and then thinking about literature, why am I reading this? What am I gaining out of it? And this was the question which I really learned to ask, and I'm still asking myself time and again whenever I read anything. When I went to JNU for my master's, and I was introduced to different literary and theoretical positions
Mm-hmm.
on the question, what exactly is literature? What makes literature literature? And this
Right.
question, you can never get a complete,
Answer
definite
to it.
answer. So that made me go ahead. And there are many like me who are
Pursuing.
going beyond those 6 levels, those degree courses, and the seminars which make up these degree programs.
Right, right. Perfect. So, Ritvik, would you suggest the students that they should do the Max Muller courses of levels with A1, A2, or should they pursue a degree from university? So,
I
bachelor's,
think it is
master's.
it is complementary. I think it is complementary. As I said, when you pursue a degree program in any university, the minimum expectation, or it's a pre-assumption that you have the necessary language competence,
Mm-hmm.
and what needs to be imparted is the literary competence, the
Right.
competence to think critically, to ask questions. And that's the reason why I did those courses at the Max Muller level, Max Muller Bhavan, because you need the language in order to understand the literature. So no one will tell you the grammar when you are
Yes.
dealing with literature. It's assumed that you know the grammar,
The grammar.
and then it has to be about the choosing the right expression in the right context to articulate what you really want to say, what you are really thinking, in order to
Right.
avoid any kind of misunderstandings, and that leads you to the complex field of research.
Of course, of course. I think one of the richest experience I have had myself is learning Spanish and learning Spanish literature. So, when we were learning Spanish, that was the most enriching part because we could see the European culture with so many different perspectives, and we were introduced to art, to architecture, to so many different and that was an experience in itself. So I'm sure that learning philosophies coming from different like western zone has been a very interesting or intriguing part of your choice of career as well. So was it like that for you? Like what did you do in the area of philosophy as compared to your language? So how did language and philosophy connect in your career?
Well, I had a very superficial introduction to philosophy as a part of my bachelor's program.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to JNU, in the second year of my master's program, there was a choice which we had to choose between philosophy and didactics. Uh, I, of course, chose philosophy. So I was never into philosophy till I went to JNU. And if you ask me anything about philosophy in English, I might not be the right person to answer those questions because I was introduced to philosophy only through the language, which is German.
Right.
But as far as learn or dealing with philosophy within the framework of literature is concerned,
Right.
firstly, they are interconnected. There are philosophers who are accused of writing in a poetic fashion. There are writers who are accused of writing in a very philosophical way, and none of these accusations are right or wrong.
Right.
And
Right.
it's about the idea which prevails in a particular time period, which influences someone. So when
Of
you
course.
read a literary work of a particular period, at the same time, if you see the philosophical context, you get to know that this author who has written this literary work, was in touch with this philosopher and was influenced by him. And that's how you know that philosophy and literature actually go hand in hand. So the history of philosophy in a literary way, or keeping in mind the history of literature of that particular area, of
Yeah.
that particular country, makes your studies even more richer.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, could you brief us a little bit about the researches that are currently happening in German language? So, what is
Well,
happening? What is the
I can talk
trend
about
right
what.
now?
Sorry.
What is the trend of research right now in German language?
Uh, well, again, this is a very, very vast question. And I would not talk about the research happening in Germany because we might take up to 2 days in order to figure out what is happening in Munich, and then we'll
Right,
have to go to other cities. So it will never end.
of
But
course,
as
of
far
course.
as the German studies in India is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
I would say people take up contemporary topics related to the identity crisis which certain strata of the society face, migration issues, integration issues, also intercultural, intertextual studies pertaining literature in two languages, comparing the literature from Bengal and then finding parallel similar thoughts in German literature from Marathi into German.
Right.
There are research projects which took place earlier where people actually translated difficult philosophical texts independently, and that experience became their research project, a dissertation in itself. So there are quite a few research areas which people are pursuing. As far as Pune is concerned, it's more or less in the direction of didactics,
Mm-hmm.
how German can be taught as a foreign language in an innovative fashion.
Mm-hmm.
A deeper way of looking at it is, of course, the didactics course which takes place at the JNU, which I haven't myself attended, so I can't really talk much about it.
Of course.
But there are research projects which people have taken on authors post the Second World War, like
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Bernhard, etc.
Right, of course. There's one curious question, Ritvik. Could you tell us the impact of, or I would like to frame it like this: what is the influence of Hitler on German philosophy post World War?
Well, I can go on and on, but I'll just quote one thinker who said, there cannot be poetry after Auschwitz.
Of course.
And I think I'll stop here.
Yes, yes, yes. Definitely, definitely. All
But
right.
there are quite a few debates. I mean, if I may take this opportunity, there were a few authors who migrated to US, and there were quite a few who somehow survived staying in Europe. And there was a debate between two of such authors. The one who went to the US was a great literary figure from the early 20th century who said that the literature of authors who stayed back in the NS regime, it stinks of blood. And the authors who stayed back said, well, those who migrated and fled have no right to comment. So
Oh,
it's a vast topic.
vast
It's a
topic.
vast topic.
Of
But
course.
yes, it has an impact even today. There were quite a few literary works, novels, or autobiographical texts which were published only after the reunification, which dealt with their own experiences of war.
Right. I think Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning should be one of them because I think psychology is heavily, heavily dominated by German psychologists, and I would love to know what is the impact or what is the influence of these psychologists on literature. So, do you have
Well,
poems or short stories or anything over all these people?
yes, yes, quite a few. And as we all know, one of the prominent psychologists is Freud, and Arthur Schnitzler, another Austrian author, Jewish author, was a dear friend of Freud.
Okay.
And his text, called as Lieutenant Gustl,
Mm-hmm.
is a complete, it is, in literary terms, it is called the inner monologue,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a complete, uh, it is an attempt to explore what can happen between the 2 years
Okay.
and about an event which has not taken place. So a
Right.
small event takes place, and some that instigates that person to think about all possibilities of further events which don't really take place, and the text ends there. So if you
Streetwise.
ask what the text is about, there is no answer. But that text becomes and stays one of the most important texts in the history of German literature.
Wow. Wow. Is there a translation? I would love to read.
I have to see. I think there should be, because this is a very, very important and a seminal text in German language.
All right, Ritvik, we have your friends cheering you up here. So many of your friends, they are writing in German. That is why I understand that they are your friends. So say hi to all of them. And I have another interesting question for you. So you have learned Spanish and German simultaneously, right? So there are myths about why learning two foreign languages and the cognitive overload that happens. So what would you like to say about it?
Well, there was a time when I was learning Spanish and German parallelly, and there were
And
people
I
asking
think
me,
there were multiple people in our class learning two languages parallelly, right?
yes, and they had these doubts whether they will get confused. I never was. The only regret that I have is that because I intensively started engaging myself with and exclusively with German language, I lost a bit of touch with Spanish. So that is something I really regret, and I try my best but fail time and again to get in touch with Spanish. But I don't see any wrong, any negative aspect of learning two languages at the same time. And if I was going through our notes of our advanced diploma, and I remember when I was presenting a poet from this late Spanish Romanticism, Gustavo Adolfo Becker,
Becker, sí, sí, me
I
acuerdo.
I've written it down how he was influenced by a German poet, again a romanticist, Heinrich Heine.
Right,
So there one will find in connects, but at the same time, this all what I'm talking about comes from a deep passion for literature, for the literary language, which is so different from the language which we use in our day-to-day life.
right.
And this was my decision out of my own free will to go that deep. But the deeper I go, I realize that it's the more I realize that actually all what I'm doing and all what I'm reading, the questions which are being asked by different theoreticians, by the professors who encourage us to ask further questions, all concern the human life and all concern every individual. And this is, I think, one of the important connects between literature and psychology as well.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, yes. Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for this insight, Ritvik. This is going to surely encourage people to go deeper into language studies. And I have another interesting question here for you. So, this is a little rude question, but I would still want to ask. So, what is the ultimate destination of a researcher in any language?
You
So,
you
where do
saved
you
the you saved the most difficult question for the last, for the
Yes,
conclusion.
yes. No, there is
Well, I
another
was,
difficult question coming for you after this.
oh God,
Okay.
but I was asked to contribute to one elaborate article, which is, I think, soon going to be published as a part of a
Wow.
yearbook or a special edition, which the foreign language department of Shivaji University is working on.
Wow.
And my teacher from
Okay.
Ferguson College, she asked quite a few of us to chip in with our experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and she's going to compile them and form and edit the text chronologically by saying what all can be done if you engage yourself with German language. What are the possibilities? What is happening in India? What is happening outside India?
Right.
And there, I remember ending my short text by saying that what I learned in this journey is how involved my professors, my mentors were, and how hardworking they were and they are. And their goal was to give whatever they have seen, they have read, they have experienced. And this can happen only if one continues to learn and one continues to believe that learning never ends.
Of course. Of course.
So I would myself personally like, love to stay in the field of academics and continue learning. I even wouldn't say I would continue to do research. I would really continue to learn. And whenever I get a chance, I would try to share my experiences, try to share whatever I have gained to others who are equally excited and interested to know what is happening, what is it that I am doing actually. And that,
Wow.
so the teaching learning experience is something where you remain a student forever, and that is something I would personally want to have.
Right.
But there are other possibilities if people really want to be, well, again, not rude but materialistic. There are quite a few options in the corporate field to work as translators, and there are, at the same time, because some of them are known to me, I know that people are complaining that they don't get to use the language much.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a set of vocabulary which they repetitively use, and
Right.
even though they are earning well, they're not getting job satisfaction. So someone who is really into literature and research, for him or her, that is not the most ideal option, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
uh, there are universities, there are institutes where you get to teach if you are hardworking and passionate about it. You would
Of
never give up.
course. Amazing. This is so inspiring, Ritvik. Ritvik, can you tell us how you have changed as a person from learning German in your 11th grade and learning German now? How have you changed as a person?
Is there another difficult question, or is this the last one?
No, there is another difficult question.
No, I think I've changed a lot. Firstly, I would not deny that I there was a point when I was carried away with all these thoughts of entering the corporate field and earning money.
Yes.
But when I saw that there lies a world beyond that, that a lot more can be achieved when I try to look into myself, when I start evaluating myself. So the encounter with literature is not something for me to write in an exam paper, but it is something for me to introspect. You start thinking about yourself differently, you start thinking about others differently, and you start looking at your surroundings differently. I think that is the massive change which I see in myself.
Of
And
course.
it happens, it again is a continuous process, it keeps on happening.
Definitely, definitely. I can totally see the change in you. So, so grateful to you for sharing this experience with us. I want you to share one more interesting experience of your life, Ritvik. So, I remember you used to do these programs where you translated different poems from different languages and you presented them and I think also sung them. So, that experience of yours is what we want to hear about.
Well, I did not personally translate them, I already only presented them in the program. Yes, I sang them, and one was a ghazal which was translated into German by Lalita Marathe. She's again an experienced translator in Pune.
Mm-hmm.
And one was a Marathi song translated into Spanish by Saumitra Mahajan.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sakhi Manda Jhalya Taraka, which was translated into Spanish, and
Spanish.
Aapki Yaad Aati Rahi was translated into German. And I was asked
Wow.
to, because they did not have to work on my pronunciations, and because also I could sing a bit, they asked me to sing them. But there were quite a few positive responses, I must say, but there was quite a lot of criticism, and which is the reason the programs did not go on. There were only 2 shows which took place, and there were quite a few people who said that, well, everything is nice, but the songs are not reaching us.
I think for that
So
you have to be a person like you who knows all the languages and who has that, who has that guts to present a song from totally different language into a totally different language with, by respecting its, like the song, the music as well, right?
no, at the same time, we get to know what power the words actually have and what impact they've already made on the audience, that they do not necessarily want to listen to Sakhi Manda Jhalya Taraka in another
In other
language. They're
language, yes.
happy with to listen to the same words written by Sudhir Moge in Marathi.
Of course, of
And
course.
you, at the same time, you as a performer, as a singer, are aware of your own limitations, and then you start respecting the singers you adore even more for making you fall in love with songs at an age where you did not understand the meaning of the songs.
Right,
So
right.
there you also know what your limitations as a singer are, that you have understood the notes only in a superficial way, and there is a long way to go. So again, you do realize what magic art and literature can perform, can do on you, if
Right.
you allow that magic to work on you.
Yes, 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 definitely. And every language has its own beauty, has its own grace that cannot be compared, cannot be transformed into any other language. It's as good as
Absolutely.
it's just like reading classic in Marathi, like the original in Marathi, and translated into something else, so it does not reach you, but then it really takes guts to translate something and make it available for people who are not who don't know the original language. So that is a very important part of people like you who are studying different languages
And
and the literature.
one such initiative which was started way back, I think in the 90s, by Sunanda Mahajan,
Mm-hmm.
was the magazine which she started along with her late husband, Kelyane Bhashantar, where German texts, primarily German, even there are even people who translate texts from other languages other than German into Marathi, and it's published, I think, every 3 months, and that
Wow,
is still going on. So that is one such effort which I think is worthy to
that
be
is
acknowledged.
amazing, amazing, amazing. Finally, Ritvik, thank you so much for joining us. And please end this conversation with a really nice message for students who want to get into literature. What would be your
Try
message?
it out is all I would say. It's worth it.
It's
It's
definitely
worth it.
worth.
And I think it opens you as a person. You think twice before you make opinions. You think twice before you judge others, because you get a perspective which tells you, firstly, it's better to look into yourself, to evaluate yourself, and then maybe
Jump
talk
into.
about others. So that is one important lesson which I am learning still.
Of course.
And it is worth having that experience, I think.
Yes.
And then the conversations which you would happen with which you would engage with others are again conversations which give you so much, which are so rewarding, and they do not have to be with people who also share the same love for literature, but the happiness which we get to make them realize of a perspective which they were not aware of, and that is what
Right.
literature taught you, is an experience again, so which gives you so much as a person, and which helps you develop as a person so much that I think it is worth it.
Right, right, right. I would like to say, Ritvik, that as a researcher, you are putting in your efforts into the language, but the language has given you a lot more than what you can ever give to the language, right?
Of course, of course. And also, I would take this platform to thank all my teachers and professors and mentors who've played a massive role in where I am today and in the way I'm thinking today. And also, my friends and colleagues from Pune, JNU who have always been there, listening here, including you. So a big thanks to everyone. Also, all to all those who joined today. I don't know how to see them, but a big thank you to all those who have been here as
Great.
a virtual and have shown their virtual presence.
There are so many people here, Ritvik. They are all commenting. Great discussion, interesting discussion. Thanks, Ritvik. I cannot. Okay, I just want to ask audience if there's any question for Ritvik. We have very interesting person here, so please go ahead. And okay, somebody is asking your topic of research, I think.
I, I started with work engaging myself with the aesthetics of a great German philosopher, thinker, playwright, poet called Friedrich Schiller.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot has already been done on him and on his aesthetics, and I did not want to enter the uh, dry region of pure philosophy.
Right.
So while reading up on Schiller's aesthetics, I came across a sentence which reminded me of ideas of another thinker from the 20th century, again an Austrian,
Mm-hmm.
called as Hermann Broch.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, my guide here has done his postdoctoral research on Hermann Broch.
Wow.
So I was in safe hands when I started this conversation with him and expressed my interest to work on Hermann Broch.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be looking at his theoretical essays and writings on art, literature, and his criticism on the culture of the European society in the beginning of 20th century, in order to see if one can speak of his own theory of literature
Mm-hmm.
and what his expectations from literature are. So that is my topic for
Wow.
my PhD.
That is very heavy for me. All right, all right, all right. Great, Ritvik. I think. So, which is the first novel a student of German should read? That is the question.
I think the short stories of Thomas Bernhard
Mein
and
Kampf.
Wolfgang Borchardt
Okay. No, no.
are no, Mein Kampf. I wouldn't recommend that.
Okay.
uh, uh, but because I would restrict myself to literature. I think the short stories of Thomas Bernhard and Wolfgang Borchardt are really nice. Also, a novel like Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse.
Mm-hmm.
It is known as the it is a typical genre which is typically associated to the German literary space, which
Okay.
is called as a Bildungsroman,
Mm-hmm.
a genre where the protagonist develops and becomes a better being, a better version of himself or herself.
Wow. Fantastic. So great, Ritvik, great. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us here. And I think we will wait for another 1 minute because I think there are some more questions coming up from people here. This has been, let me tell you, this has been the most engaging session that I have done for past 2 weeks. So great, great,
Well, I'm really happy to
amazing.
know this.
Yes. All right, people, any more questions for Ritvik? Anything under the term of languages or German language or anything that you want to ask Ritvik? Ritvik is here to answer all your questions. Uh, all right, till then, Ritvik, do you want to share some of your experiences with German language? Anything that you can think of?
I remember reading a play called Der Tor und der Tod, which is translated in English would be the crazy person and the death.
Okay.
So this protagonist, that Auteur. He is a writer and a renowned writer, but who has engaged with the world only through his apartment. He's never really been a part of the world. He has looked at the
Oh,
world through his window and has written beautiful literary pieces, but he has never been outside
in the
in that world.
world
And the
without
death comes
having the
to,
experience. Yeah.
yes, and the death arrives at his place to pick him up, and he is asking, he's confused, and he asks, why me and why now? And the
Right.
death says, well, you did not lead the life the way you should have. You did not work the way you should have. And he's amazed. How is it possible? I have been so popular. And then the three most important people in his life, his mother, his best friend, and his wife or his girlfriend, I forget, they tell him that, well, what you read, you never really experienced them, and you did not allow others to tell you what actually that means. So you wrote something, but you were deprived of the experience, so you did not really understand what life is.
Wow.
And then he says, oh well, sorry, I might just get another chance, and I will request for that chance, and I will make
Try it
make
out.
up for it, and I'll leave the rest to the interested readers of
Right.
the
Of
drama.
course, of course. There are so many questions coming up, Ritvik. Another
I
question
read
will,
one question, what
yeah,
makes
yes,
keeps me motivated. I
yes,
think that
yes.
question is the easiest. I mean, the shortest answer would be passion, because when you talk about the field of research, it means that there are senior fellows, professors who are guiding you, who want you to improve, who want you to make progress, and as a part of that process, you are criticized, and you learn to take
Take,
criticism in a very positive way,
absolutely.
and that is not restricted only to your studies. When it is about human relationships, and when your friends, your family members, or anyone else
Agree with
tells
that.
you that you are doing something which you should not, you learn to face it and respect it.
Wow. Amazing, amazing, Ritvik. So here's another question. Do you eventually plan to teach literature, or are you interested in study and work in literary criticism? Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, and literary criticism is again this word. I also used it very casually in the very beginning, because I was finding it difficult to find a parallel for literature theory, which means theory of literature in English. So I thought the best parallel would be literary criticism, but that is a word which is used in the newspapers, and literary theory is the closest I can get to what is literature theory in German, and
Wow.
that is one subject which keeps on fascinating me, because this is not to be associated with the common understanding of theory, which is you learn something A, B, C, D, E, and then you look to apply these A, B, C, D, E on something.
Something,
But
right.
when you talk about literary theories, they emerge out of the society, out of these complex human relationships, which find an expression in literary works. So it is not about learning theory to apply it to somewhere. It is about understanding your own encounter with literature, and
Wow.
to understand what literature actually means. So yes, this is one area which would never really close. It is not a close-ended area, and that's where I would love to teach literature, because I will be learning, I think, a lot more when I decide to impart something, explain something what I'm thinking.
Of course, of course. Wow. That is such a insightful answer. Thank you, Ritvik. So many times people studying say that theory and philosophy are things which sound good in books, and it is not something that is applicable in daily life. I think that was what you explained right
Exactly said,
now.
yes.
Yes. Any quotes or sentences from literature that you read that stuck by, changed your way of thinking, or had an impact on your personality?
I think I was working on Schiller's Aesthetics, and one sentence which he has written is, freedom to do what one must, not what one wants to, but what one must. So he talks about being human in order to understand your own tasks. So when he's talking about his society, his contemporary period, he's admitting the fact that the people in this society are not yet complete humans, and that they are yet to become humans, and that they must be shown the way, or they must realize that they are on the way to becoming humans. And then what you do, your action in your life, is not out of your own free will, but is a conscious action and doing of what you really have to do, what the tasks which are given to you, assigned to you, and then you get that awareness, that freedom to do those tasks.
Wow, that is really, really deep, Ritvik. Great, great. Okay, so I have lost one question, but uh, there was some. Your okay, how do you see this binary of theory and practical application?
When it comes to literary theory, there cannot be a binary like this of theory and practice, because we are practicing what we are reading actually, and then the reader response criticism. These are big terms, but it actually means how you look at your encounter with the literary piece, and if you are acknowledging the impact of that literary piece on you and actively trying to change yourself for the better. And if this process is happening constantly, you don't even have to worry, you don't even have to think of theory and practice as a binary. It happens.
It
You
happens.
practice something which you've read, you read something which you've practiced. So theory and practice there go hand in hand.
Amazing, amazing, great. This really shows how experienced you are in the literature, and how literature, like, it's so easy for you to talk about all these things, and that is what your
No, I
expertise.
think I must give all this credit to my professors who made us think this
Definitely,
fashion,
definitely.
and otherwise I wouldn't have been able to speak in this fashion, and I don't think I would have been here doing what I'm doing. So forget about speaking about all this. So the
Right.
credit goes to my professors.
Of course, you are definitely blessed with some amazing professors and mentors, Ritvik. Great.
Of course.
We and we also know that you are going to be one of them very soon. So please keep inspiring students. Please keep inspiring all of us in whatever way. All great wishes to you, and we want to see you teaching, inspiring, talking about all the great philosophies with us, and sharing your experiences with us. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here, and it
Thank
was
you. The
great
pleasure was
talking
all
to you.
mine.
Thank you so much. See you again. Take care. Have a
See
great
you.
time ahead.
Yes.
All right. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.